Hello, my name's Jennifer Grace and I'm here with a layout process video for the Scrap365 July Sketch Challenge. I'm using the 7 Dot Studio Illumination Collection Kit. 7 Dot Studio are sponsoring the July sketch, so you can play along to try and win some goodies from them. So I've got the sketch printed out and I've got a photo that I've chosen to go with the papers and things. I'm going to choose my backing paper first, so I put everything else aside. The papers have got a kind of darker effect on one side, chalkboard kind of effect, and on the other side they're kind of pastel hues. I set aside one of the pieces that's a washed out grey look because it kind of makes me think of the piece for water, and then I start choosing a colour piece to go with it. I test out a couple of different ones to see what they look like. I quite like the coloured chevrons effect, so I keep that one out, and I have another look at the sketch to see how I might want to put that onto my page. So I'm going to have the grey as the background, and I decide to cut some strips from this other piece which has a chevron style pattern. So I just cut a few strips off of that to see how they can fit onto my background. I start laying them out like the strips on the sketch. They're coming out from the right hand side of the photo, so I play around a bit with how I can use these strips to that effect. It won't be exactly like the sketch, but I'm using it to get my ideas from. So I decide to cut the ends of the chevron pattern strips so they're kind of more like arrows pointing out into the layout, and I just snip them off randomly and try and work out how they'll work best with my photo. I decide that the layout needs another pattern on it, another colour or effect, so I try out a few different pieces to work out which one I think goes best. I like this one because it has this same kind of chevron pattern as the coloured strips, but in a muted effect, just the black and grey. So I decide to use that at the bottom of my page. I cut out a couple of other things so I can try them out too at the same time. So I start layering the pieces up together, checking out a couple of other things to see if they work on my page. So I'm happy with what I've got so far, and I refer back to the sketch to check what else I can be putting on my page. And I noticed that they've got some detail. It shows flowers on the sketch, but it's basically an area of embellishment to the left of the photo. So I start fiddling around with the embellishments, stickers and the tags and things to see what I think might fit on my page. I really like this tag that says "Find happiness in the little things," but it's pretty big and I have to take a while to work out where it's going to fit on my page. I have a good look around to see what other things I might want to put on. I don't peel off any of the stickers yet because I'm going to try and work out what I'm going to do with this tag first. I want to make sure that it's not overwhelming my page because it's such a big tag and I've already filled up quite a bit of space. I don't want it to overshadow the photo, and I need to make sure that I'm leaving space for a title and some journaling, which I quite often forget about. So I play around with it in various different places, and I eventually decide that it's just not going to work. It's too big, but I still really like the sentiment, so I decide to cut the tag down and make it smaller, and that way I can fit it on my page without it overwhelming everything. So now I work out where it will fit this new size, and straight away I find a spot for it where I like it, and it means that I can fit this other little tag on the page too. So I've got those things worked out. I'm going to start sticking some stuff down before I get in too much of a mess. I make a little pencil line at the bottom of the circle shape so that I know where it goes when I take the other things off the page. I'm using double-sided sticky tape to stick it down. Normally I use a double-sided tape runner, but I'd run out of the refills, which made me kind of sad because my tape runner is repositionable, so I like being able to peel things off and put them back down again easily. This double-sided tape is permanent, so I can't do that. I did manage to do it a couple of times, but it was touch and go whether I'd rip the paper up. So I'm going to be ordering some more of those when I can. Once I stuck this down, here's where I tried to peel it back up again. Just about managed to get away with it. I was measuring it to make sure it was straight on my page, because it drives me nuts if I stop afterwards and realise that I've put something on a little bit wonky. So I tend to use my ruler to make sure that things are actually on straight. So once I've got some of the background stuff stuck down, I decide to work out where my title is going to go to make sure I can fit that on before I stick anything else down. So it's going to go underneath the photo like it is on the sketch. I pull out some alphas. These are from Pink Fresh Studio, some mint and gold alphas. I'm going to use them to spell the word hey. And then I have a look at some other thickers to see which ones match my page and in which sets I've got the right letters. And I eventually decide on this Amy Tangerine white foam thicker set. Before I stick down my title though, I stick down the tags from the 7 Dots Studio collection, because once I've got those on my page, it gives me a bit of a frame of where my title's going to go, helps me to keep it straight and make sure it's in the right place. So once they are stuck down, I can adhere my title. I use glossy accents to stick down the word hey, because those alphas aren't adhesive. Just put a little dot in a few places on the back of the letter. And then I can stick down the white thickers. This set is an italic set, so it takes me a little while to work out how close I want them to be. I need to make it look right. I need to make look right. So I fiddle with it a bit, but once I get them into the right place, then I'm happy with my title. And I move on to this top left area of my page. I decide it needs a bit of a splash of colour up there. It's a bit too grey. So I pull out a Glitz Design roller doodle, and I'm going to use it with some grapefruit ink and grapefruit embossing powder, both from American Crafts. So I just get them both open and ready and roll the roller doodle through the ink pad quite a few times, making sure it's covered, and stamping it onto my page, checking that the arrows are going to point in the right direction. I tip the embossing powder on there quickly before the ink can dry and shake off the excess powder, also shaking off my photo a bit there. I then tip the excess powder straight back into the jar and put the lid back on, because otherwise, know me, I would knock it over, tip it everywhere. Then I just need to heat up the embossing powder. My heat tool takes a while to heat up because it is an old one, so it doesn't get very hot, but it gets there in the end. I just love watching the embossing powder turn shiny, and this one also goes lighter and turns really pretty and pink. It looks great. Once I'm happy that that's finished, I also decide it needs a bit more colour, something else to go next to the pink arrows. So I go and have a look at some washi tapes which I think might go with the colours. I try out this arrows one because after all I've got a lot of arrows on my page already, so I thought they might match and the colours were about right. But I decide that it's a bit too much, too many arrows everywhere, and it might make my eyes go a bit funny. So I pull that one back off and have another look, get a few different colours. I try out a greeny blue but it's a bit too dark, a pink but there's too much pink because there's already pink arrows on there. Again, the blue was too dark as well, so I went with the yellow. I snip it off so that it's got a neat edge and add it to the left hand side of my page. Once I've got that stuck down, I still don't stick the tags down yet just in case I change my mind about those, and I decide that I'm going to work out where my journaling should go before I fill up the page any further. So I get out these 3x4 cards from the 7 Dots collection and choose one of the journaling ones to see where it will fit on my page. I don't need to have a huge amount of journaling on here, so I decide that it will be alright tucked underneath my photo up in the right hand corner. Before I stick it down, I make another pencil mark to make sure I get it in the right place, and then I use the double-sided tape again to stick it down. Now I'm ready to stick my photo down too. I think I've got enough elements underneath it, and I line that up with one of the chevron patterns on the page. You can see me here trying to lift it back up and move it a bit. I really need my repositionable tape. And checking again to see if it's straight. It's close enough, so I leave it like that. My washi tape kept peeling off, so I just quickly used a glue stick to stick it back down again. I didn't want it peeling off in the scrapbook album. And then I use pop dots to stick on the journey and perfect moment items in the top left corner. Then I write my journaling, which just says, when we go out with your friend, you can share the joy. Because when she goes out with me, I do get enthusiastic about some things, but it's a lot more fun for her when her friend is with her to share their interest in unusual things and spotting things in the distance. It's great to see them playing together. So now I start to add on my other embellishments. I really like this laugh sticker, so I just go ahead and stick it down. You'll see me in a minute deciding that I don't like it so much there and trying to work out how to cover it up. I stick a few other things down in the meantime, a few more colourful bits and pieces. I really like this sticker, which has a kind of postage stamp effect along the edge. I want it to tuck under my word journey, but it doesn't quite fit, so I cut off a bit of the border to help it fit underneath there. Then I check out this sheet of stickers with words on, because they're all really nice words and I want to use one of them on the page, but it takes me a little while to decide which one because there's so many lovely ones. And I decide on Believe in Magic. I like having it down here because it kind of means the white on black pattern is spread throughout the page. Next I pull out a variety of other embellishments, starfish and cog, wood veneer. I've got a whole box full of random chipboard stickers and chipboard elements. So I get out a few of those with colours that match the page to decide which ones I'd like to use. I've got all kinds of different bits and pieces in there. I can play around with them a bit now and see which ones fit and which ones I think go because of the feel of them. I quite quickly discount the ones that have got orange in them because the orange just doesn't really go with the muted effect of the page. The other ones, it takes me a little bit longer to decide. So I play around with them. This is where I've decided I don't like the laugh sticker because of the circle breaking onto the photo, and I fix that by sticking a straight edged sticker on top of it, which means that the edge of the photo doesn't look quite so broken because it matches up with it. Then I play around with the other bits and pieces. I like the starfish here because it embellishes the seaside theme. I like this kind of area of circles I've got to the left hand side of the photo. So I just stick all the pieces down using either pop dots or glossy accents. And then of course I have to finish the page off with a few gems and pearls and enamel dots, because that's the sort of thing I like to use. I've got some wooden enamel dots by Studio Calico, some pebbles candy dots, and some cars adhesive gems. So I just stick those in a variety of areas. I decided I could do with a few white dots too, so I put on a few more enamel dots in white. Once they're all on, the page is finished. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll have time to join in with the Scrap365 July Sketch Challenge. Goodbye for now.